Welcome to Classrooms Beyond Borders, a day in the life. I'm your host, Cammie Kannekens. I'm an educator from Canada, and I know that access to quality education isn't a level playing field. In this podcast, we're going on a journey to explore the realities of schooling in less developed nations. Join me as we explore the real lives of teachers, students, and community leaders in less developed nations and discover how their experiences can challenge and inspire us all. Welcome back to Classrooms Beyond Borders. Today, I'm very excited to have Moses Okoth, who is a teacher in Western Kenya, and he's coming to us from far away. It's nighttime where I am and early in the morning where Moses is. So thank you, Moses, for joining us. Moses, why don't you start off by telling us where in the world you are? Give us a sense of where you're located specifically in Kenya.
It's a pleasure, Cammie, meeting you once more. We've been trying to do this for a very long time, and it's a privilege to be with you on your Classroom Beyond Borders podcast, and thank you very much for having me here. Well, I am located in Sphero County, which is in Western Kenya. The one thing that most people ask me is, what is the one thing you can be able to identify with where you come from? And it's one place where I would say is home to former President Barack Obama's father. My school is about 30 minutes from where Barack Obama's father came from. So a lot during his inauguration, that whole place was buzzed with pride that this is our son. And so it is a small little community with about 6 million people. It is 12 hours away from Nairobi, the capital city, and then one city called Kisumu, which is about an hour and a half. And my school is very, very rural. Just normal school with iron sheets, tin sheets. We still use chalkboard and blackboard, and
So Moses, you talked about iron sheets and tin sheets. And so I've been to schools similar to that. So in my mind, I have that picture, but I want to make sure our listeners understand. So when you talk about iron sheets or tin sheet, you're talking about maybe some posts and then literally sheets of tin for the walls and for the roof, correct?
Yeah, that's what you mean. They use a better name when they say corrugated iron sheet. So it's just the poles. You have trees cut down and you have those poles, and then you have these iron sheets using nails and timber joined together and stuck to the roof, and that becomes a classroom basically.
So I imagine when it rains out that it's difficult to do much teaching.
Yes, it is. Because possibly is most times you would identify those iron sheets without holes at the top, and those are the ones that will go on the roofing so that they don't go on the side. So you'd have to identify those roofings that don't have holes at the top. These ones would have water coming into the classroom. And just a door, and most times you don't have a floor. It would be just mud floor and all that. And then you have students sharing the desks made out of timber and all that. They share a book, possibly a book shared amongst 2 to 3 or even 7 or 10 students. And people keep on making assumptions that things have changed, and they really haven't changed much. I still use chalk and blackboard, and that hasn't changed much.
So a book that they would share, would that be like a mathematics textbook, or would that be a storybook? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we've got a curriculum in place. And what happens, the curriculum is able to give guidelines on what textbooks you are to use. If you're in the 4th grade, if you're in the 3rd grade, if you're in the 12th grade, there is one single math textbook that is used for those specific grades. So there is a possibility of the students not having these textbooks for each student. So the case would be a government subsidy given for books, and the parents buy it, and one parent possibly is well off than another, or the school has been given a few. And what happens is you distribute this amongst the students, and because they're not enough for them, or possibly for you as a teacher, you can be able to take some money out of your account and possibly buy 6 or 7 of them, but that is still not enough. So they would have to share these books, and then you'd have to teach them because they have to follow up on what you're doing with this one single book. And so that's the reason why they have to share this book. It could be English, it could be math, it could be Swahili, it could be religious education.
And so they would share those. And I just think I hear the rooster crowing in the background. And so that makes me smile, because many a times I've been awakened by an African rooster crowing. It's about that time. So you mentioned blackboards and chalk. Can you tell us also about, would you have access to electricity? Tell us about how students would get water, such as using the washroom, or even if they needed a drink of water during the day. Tell us about that.
Let me deal with electricity. I keep on saying it's something that is really affecting me a lot of times. Like the sun rises in the east is something we've been teaching for years. The sun rises in the east and then it sets in the west. And we use the normal sunlight. We've had friends like you and a bunch of friends who've been able to come in. And because it's really expensive to have an electric pole getting electricity to the school, and not just this specific school, a bunch of schools, because that electric line would be really, really fast. So to count the number of poles from the government and then having it towards this school would be damn expensive. The alternative would be solar panels. And so friends like you have come forth recently, and I really appreciate that, where we've been able to buy solar panels for the students, and what they do is we put it at the top of the roof, and they're mobile they're mobile panels, because I have to take them back or keep them somewhere for safekeep, because someone else would steal them and then they would use it. Under normal circumstances, they would not have these. There are a lot of schools that don't have these, and they use the normal sunlight. For example, it's now 6 a.m. If they came into the classroom and they have a morning tuition class, they would have to use the normal sunlight, open the windows, and then wait for the sun to come up. So the teacher really has a hard time. When you speak about water sources are very few. And fortunately, right now, the rains are coming in. What you would do, you'd have the member of parliament, you'd speak to them, or the local leadership, and you would buy a water tank, and then that would have possibly lines where you tap the water, and then it gets into the tank. So otherwise, if the rains are not there, this forces the students to move distances away from the river and local sources and fetch the water. You've got a situation even within urban towns where they don't have water within the schools. And what happens with the teachers is they would tell the students to carry some little can with them to school with the water. And this is what would be used to wash the classrooms, to wash the toilets. You get into the toilet scenarios, we don't have normal toilets like you. We have pit latrines, and these are just holes that are dug, and you would poop and do your thing there, and then they would be separated between the male and the female. And the funny thing is, when this gets filled up, you really have to get a situation where this is very unhealthy. So it means getting local resources again to cover this one up, and then dig a new one, and then start fresh again and put up a new building again. So these are the things that are very normal for us that don't look like they happen out there. So that's it.
Well, they don't in most places, and we would have to go back in time. We've probably heard maybe our grandparents telling stories that would be similar. But as technology has advanced here, fortunately, so have our schools. And so it's so valuable to hear your story of how school itself is very different. And you also mentioned that even in city schools or urban schools, that can be a similar issue as well, with lack of electricity and water access to.
Yeah, so that's a situation. You really have a lot of issues to tell us about that. From doors to windows to electricity to just normal facilities, these are things that are hard to come by. You have problems of students walking long distances. How are they able to walk? Shoes are a problem. Uniform are a problem. You have issues of books and that they would write. How would they don't have access to that kind of thing, and you have to get into your pocket and get writing. It's something that you have to deal with, and then you adapt to it over time. You've got a class of 50 students, and you have to give concentration to each of these students sharing a desk, and you can see possibly one student is not concentrating or they're hungry. You have got issues of feeding. How are you able to come up with feeding programs for this? I was just basically having this call with someone from the US, and they were saying we want to be able to give $25 a bag of maize and a bag of beans that takes them possibly a week. So these are issues that we come up with. And friends, I've kept on saying this, a bunch of friends of you out there have been really supportive with this.
So would your school then be able to have a hot meal that you would prepare for students? Would that be normal for a school to do that? Or they had, in this case, the resource donated, would the school be able to make a meal and the students would be fed then during the day if those funds existed?
I have been through something, and this is something that someone came up with and has won world recognition, that is called Food for Education. And this lady has won global recognition, and she realizes the need of feeding students, and each student is paying 5 shillings for a meal. But you see, this is just basically in urban schools, and they have to pay 5 shillings is possibly a very meager amount. But you look at what happens with my rural school, where they cannot be able to afford that kind of service. I was saying, you tell the students to come with a can of water, you would be able to tell them, okay, fine, at the end of this week, Friday, like yesterday, I want you all to come with firewood, 5, 6 pieces, and they would come, and this is put into a store, and then you would hire some women group to possibly be doing their meals for possibly a tea break or lunch, where they just cook maize and beans, and that is how you keep the school going. But a feeding program would be damn expensive because parents cannot afford it. So you have to source for it from government, and they would tell you, what we can do for you is give you this number of bags of maize or give you this number of bags of beans. I was having a problem just at the beginning of this term and at the end of last term, where the resources to keep the students were not enough, so they had to be sent early. And this was for every school in the Kenyan Republic, because they could not have the funds to keep the students for just one more week. They had to be sent away early before school vacation because they could not be able to afford those meals. So it is a problem.
Absolutely. You also had mentioned students getting to school. Most, I assume, would walk. How far might they walk in a day to get to school?
If I cycle for an hour, that tells you a lot. What does that mean for another student? And the reason why I cycle is because if I use the motorbike, it would be damn expensive to have that trip every single day to and fro. And then possibly the school is really interior. And then right now it is the rainy season. The motorbike guy would tell me, I cannot be able to move towards your school. And that is really far interior. So from this point, you have to walk. So it's just, and for me, it's also exercise. They walk distances of an hour and a half. They have to wake up at 4 a.m. The school is possibly kilometers away, and they have to get to school very early. So yeah, it's distances, huge distances.
And I just want to make sure that our listeners caught that you were telling us that you ride a bicycle to school every day, and it takes you 1 hour to do that. That's how you get to school.
Yes, 1 hour to and 1 hour back. So if I have to be up early in the morning at 5 in the morning and then get there 6 in the morning, once it gets to 6, my first class, because it is a tuition class, I have to get the students for what they didn't learn the previous day. I have an hour of that. So 6, the official starting time for the classes is 7:30. So I have that 1 hour to cover on anything that I didn't cover. And that's the reason why I have to leave very early.
Now, Moses, in your particular case, you run a STEM hub. Tell us a little bit about that and how that works. It's my understanding from our previous conversations that the students come to you and you're able to have STEM resources in a single location in a way that never would exist in the separate schools, especially when they don't have electricity. Tell us a bit about your STEM hub, if you would.
This is an interesting story because what happened is I met a teacher online just the same way I had met you. And she got interested because she was a retired teacher in the US. And then she said, okay, fine, is it possible to donate 5-6 laptops? And then this was difficult because having the laptops over took almost 2 months. And then we finally got 6-7 laptops. And then I started sharing this with my students in this particular school. But the funny thing is, if you were able to take them into these classes, and now they had the curiosity, and then they're thinking, oh God, I can have they would see all this visual trainings and aids, and we even had interactive lessons with students with internet streamed. They were slow, but they would look at them and then recordings and all that. So I would have students going back with the laptops, and then the laptop comes back without the keys and the screen is broken, and I had to go back to the drawing board again. And also other schools and other students would get interested and say, okay, fine. They would be curious, there's something happening in that school that the students are doing. And I realized that there was huge need for this. So why not do it with other schools and create for them space? So I managed to get a space, paid for it, and then it was within the town area where now we have electricity, and went back and forth with a bunch of friends from the US and the Microbit Foundation and a bunch of organizations. And I managed to get now at least 15 laptops. They were not really new, but they are working. I have managed to get a few more. So these students would actually come from these other schools and then come to the hub. And that is how we started the CIS Team Hub. So what happens is we are currently having a program where we cannot manage every student from the school. But what we're having is 15 students per school. And that is one of the reasons why, like today, Saturday, I have those classes running right from morning until evening, because 15 students from a particular school come, and we've been able to even have a gender balance where girls and boys are taught. And we have it at the beginning of the year, and we have a curriculum where if they're going to do coding, they code using the Microbit. If they're going to do robotics, they would possibly do robotics using, right now what you're using is the HP robot that I managed to get to Africa for the first time.
This That's right.
Yeah. So they would be able to coding using the robotics, using the Microbits. The Microbit Foundation was able to give me 10 boxes of Microbits, and they can code using Microbits. They can do now robotics using the HP robot. I managed to speak to an organization called Robolink. They would send me drones. We have only 4 drones. They would be able to do drones. We have got one AR, VR machine that would be able to do VR with that. And we've gotten into AI, Day of AI, which is an organization in the US, has been able to give us resources, and several teachers like you have come in to teach AI on education. So it's basically a one-stop shop that takes students through coding, robotics, drones, AR, VR, and AI education. So they spend a few hours, and then another class comes in. So we have a break in between, and then another one comes in, 30-minute break, and then throughout the day. So that is what I'm going to do immediately once we're done with this.
So one of the things that I know we've talked about that is difficult for Western teachers to understand is when you're doing Microbits and HP robots, obviously you need an internet connection at least some of the time. And that is something that in our schools, we definitely take for granted. We assume that we will have internet. Tell us, Moses, what does it take to get internet at your place?
Originally, what happened is because you're using your phone, you'd have to hotspot your phone. And this is what would be used for the students. And then this is connected to the laptop itself. So you have got the 5 laptops, and they're connected to the laptops. So you find yourself at times this get lost because you're actually far off and you lose the network connection. So over time, like I have said before, friends like you would be able to donate routers, and the router would work. And then you have to load what we call data bundles. Once you load this, which is a little expensive, and I've been trying to really fight for something like Starlink. Yesterday we had a friend in the US, a young man who's actually made an app, and he wanted to share about his app on AI with over 200 students. We could not be able to have this class because it was raining heavily, and the timing was actually because we had gathered a lot of students together in one particular school, but we could not be able to do it because the internet connection was poor. This was encouraging because the students could be able to say this young student in the US has been able to develop his own AI app. But on my part of the world, they cannot be able to access this because internet connection was not stable. It was raining heavily. And so it's one of those things we're fighting for, to get a Starlink. A lot of this is being done in Rwanda, and it's damn expensive, but I'm trying to get a GoFundMe page where we can be able to have a Starlink. Having one router would serve possibly between 10 and 15 students. Loading it again is a bunch of hassle for it. So it's not really that easy, but we're trying what we can.
Well, as we chat and as people listen to your story, Moses, I think people are likely to be impacted or struck by all the things that we take for granted. Running water, we have electricity, we assume that there will be internet. But, if it's a little slow, we complain, as opposed to the cost that it takes to get internet. And then you also mentioned, and I hope people picked up, that you're sometimes hotspotting from your own personal phone. So then that's your data, your internet that you're providing in order to provide that educational piece. Moses, this has been so helpful for us to get a sense of what education is like in rural Kenya. Maybe you could also help us understand, from a teacher's perspective, how much would a teacher be paid perhaps in an American equivalency, or what that would be in Kenyan shillings. And then if you're able to, what that might be in American.
We go through what we call, I don't know what you have it in Canada or in America. We go through what we call the Teacher Service Commission. So there's a little college that you go to when you're meant to serve as a teacher. So this is a teachers training college, TTC.
Yeah.
Once you go through that college, then you're able to graduate as a teacher, and then you get what you call a teacher number, ID number, a specific teacher's number. And so now the government has got your ID number. So say Cammie Kannekens, teacher number 175-222, and then it tells you where the school is. This is logged into the government data system, and then they will tell you this is your pay. So for me specifically, it's $300 a month. We don't earn what you call like wages. So you have what we call salaries. We are having a problem with the current government where you've not been able tax deductible health insurance, medical insurance, a bunch of other things that are cut out. So that is the total cost that comes to once they've taken all that from you. So when you have basic salary, if you're like someone like me who stays in where your father possibly gave you land, you're not paying rent and you're not paying utilities. That makes it easier for you, and that is why this has happened. Yeah, it's about $300 American dollars.
And what would that be in Kenyan shillings? Just out of curiosity.
Is it about 40,000? Yes.
Okay. It's just always interesting as well to hear, other currencies and what that looks like. And we don't always realize in other parts of the world, again, is how across Africa, there's the local currency, whether it's Kenyan shillings or, a different currency, but then there's always the US dollar, which talks large, often just need American dollars to make things easier sometimes, is my understanding.
Yeah, I was speaking to someone and I told them I need $10 and they got shocked. The reason why I told them $10 is because these students needed Crocs. It's expensive buying shoes. I've usually been out there telling people buying them shoes would be really difficult because, like the alternative would be Crocs, because Crocs are just something you dip into water and then you wash them. They're easy to handle. And it's something that I've even been pushing for. And even I'm developing something like Crocs for schools. They're a lot easier to use and easier to come by here. So $10 actually buys 10 pieces. So that means $1 every piece. That's 10 students. It's a huge difference, just $10.
So that's such a great way to put that into context again, and how funds are so different, but yet how impactful even some funds can be to students and school and such. Moses, as we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to leave us with? I know we haven't talked much about artificial intelligence. I know you have lots of thoughts around that. Maybe as we wrap up, tell us a little bit about your hope, or maybe your misgivings, your hope, whatever that might look like today, around artificial intelligence and the importance of that for Kenya's students and teachers.
You have just seen what China is doing, coming, and where they have said starting September, every school will be having mandatory with AI education. Donald Trump has just signed his order that schools will be learning AI. The UEA has just decided they're going to do the same thing. You have countries like Estonia, Sweden, Finland taking this into perspective. And I was joking with someone, and we were laughing about this, and where AI still stands for Apple in Africa. It's a huge game changer. AI is a huge game changer. I would be able to tell you stories and several stories of where I have been able to even with your help, to get to very many teachers, and they look at this and I tell them it's not magic. It's a huge game changer, and we need teachers getting into AI, because right now I don't even have to have that textbook. It's just a matter of training teachers into getting into AI. It's bigger than COVID. It's going to change a lot of things. The pedagogy and all that needs to be looked at. We need to get a lot of advocacy for training for teachers, and then the funds there. But it's going to change the way a lot of things are moving, and Africa needs to really adopt this fast enough, because if we don't, that gap would widen. I have been saying this a lot of times. I think I addressed this with you or with another teacher in the US, where we went somewhere and this teacher felt I don't know what AI is, and they said artificial insemination. So you can imagine if this is what is happening. So the thing is, we really need to get into this, and I'm trying to get you have seen, I've been following up with you and a lot of emails and trainings for teachers. We've been able to get a lot of teachers coming in. I want to train teachers. I want to teach your teachers And that is one of the things I'm calling for to anyone out there. If you feel you've got the capacity to train our teachers and we have internet connection, once we have got connectivity, why not teach our students in math? We just have to deal with the connectivity issue. That's the one thing I'm saying. Take out the connectivity issue, that Cammie Kannekens can actually teach students in Kenya the same way students in Canada are taught, and take them in anything, education or whatever. So it's just a basic thing that I keep on saying. My hope is to come up with an AI academy or an AI school, that we cut down on a lot of costs. And what I'm doing right now is a lot of advocacy for teachers to be trained. I've been able to just establish the African Teachers Association for the Advancement of Artificial Intelligence, that I'm having several teachers across the African continent getting into, because we are pushing for this. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend the ASGSU summit. And those are the things I needed to address at this summit. Traveling was really an issue. You realize we made a GoFundMe page. That funding was not really, it didn't get me there, and there was a lot of issue with the current administration. I'm hoping to travel a lot more and give a voice towards this tool that is needed for Africa. Reading and writing won't cut it out for us. Our education system needs to change. So my hope is possibly to extend the hub and make it what it needs to be out there, because our children will be paying a lot of debts. I look at how my president traveled recently and signed 20 agreements with China. And then you come down and then you look at the China government is having AI taught to students starting September. We are still at that level where not even our students don't know what AI is. So they could be paying debts for years. It's a sad affair. We really need to move fast and look at how our teachers will be taught into AI. It's a problem for me. Deep down, I really need to address it. My hopes are that whoever is out there could listen, and if they can come out through you in any way, reach out to you. I'm at that level where we are now developing our website anew. We're trying to get a larger space. We cannot accommodate the number of students we need right now. Every cent makes a difference for us. You have an old phone. If you can be able to gather your friends, send even old phones to us, don't they? Old laptops, $1, $10, $6, it makes a lot of difference. So for me, it's just make a difference. Get mad. That is what I keep on saying. If not us, who? If not this, where? If not now, when? And so it makes a difference. Just get mad and make a difference. Whatever you can be able to come up with. And it doesn't really have to be in terms of financial support. Your resources in terms of saying, I have knowledge in this, could make a lot of difference. So yeah, whatever it's possible, then reach out to you, then reach out to me. I believe at the end of this, you can share my email and all that. It makes all the difference.
Would you want to share your email address so folks could contact you?
Yes, my email address is Mosadi, MOSADEE Okoth spelled OKOTH @gmail.com. mosadi.okoth2@gmail.com. Otherwise, they can get to you also. You've been able to assist with getting anything to us. I'm really grateful for that.
So I will put that email address on the webpage with the video as well, Moses. Well, thank you for talking with me again. Moses and I had recorded this once before, but we had a lot of background noise and the sound quality wasn't good. But Moses, I think this is going to be a nice, clear recording and people can hear your story so well. And so thank you for helping us to understand what life and school and education is like in Kenya, in a different part of the world. And hopefully we will be able to encourage people to help make a difference. And so thanks again for your time. And I wish you a great, what season is it? It's getting to be spring here. Are you in summer, spring? What's happening at your place?
We don't have the 4 seasons like you. We just have the rainy season and then we have the sunny season. So right now it's really raining. It's raining a lot, Cammie, and it's a big problem. It's raining a lot. And that's why I'm also pulling any resources and I'm telling people it's going to be really difficult because those students need things like gumboots, they need things like coats, and the books get wet and you've bought textbooks and they need to use it. Oh God, it's raining a lot. It's raining a lot. On one end, when you really have a lot of rain, it's a problem. And then when you have a lot of sunshine, it's a lot of problems. Yeah, it's raining a lot.
Well, hopefully you'll still be able to get some classes in. Like you said, too much rain is a problem, but too much dry and drought is a problem too. Moses, thank you so much. I wish you a great day.
Thank you very much, Cammie, and thank you for hosting me on your podcast. Asante sana.
You have been listening to Classrooms Beyond Borders. We hope this episode has offered a valuable perspective on education in a part of the world that may be very different from your own. I hope these conversations spark a desire to learn more about the world, to engage with global issues, and to consider how you can contribute to more equitable and just education for all. Check the show notes to see if there is a specific suggestion for supporting the school in this episode. Join us next time for another journey beyond borders to another classroom with another incredible teacher. Subscribe to Classroom Beyond Borders wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube.